Like Trina said, my name's Amanda Sears. I'm the horticulture agent in Madison County, Kentucky, and that is Richmond and Berea, so in the central part of the state. And I host a annual seed swap here at the office, and I tried to think of how long I've been. I've been an agent here 18 years, and I think I've been doing a swap probably about 15 years now. And so it's taken different it's grown and it's changed a little, but it's in a really good program. During COVID, of course, we couldn't do the seed swap, but it was really one of the only two programs that people really told me they missed the most. And so so I know it means sometimes I think it's easy to lose sight of how important some of the things that we are doing as gardeners and agents for our communities, but it really does make a difference. And so we're going to talk about seed swaps. So why would you want to have a seed swap? Well, I polled people. Like I said, over the years, it's changed and it's morphed, but I tried to do evaluations and talk to people while they're at the event. But the several different reasons to build resiliency, in the time of food prices going up and down and people having a bigger interest in gardening, but also food stability. They think people, one thing they would like to do is save money because seeds can be very expensive. And I'll go into why this might be a little bit of money savings in this case. They want to become better gardeners and they want a connection with the gardening community. And so you can see actually there are some of the seeds that I bring to the seed swap. Butter beans, and then my husband's family has some Crowder peas from Todd County, Kentucky. They passed down generation to generation. So those are ones that I actually bring to the seed swap myself. So here's what we're going to go over today. So I'm going to go over what we do prior to the seed swap, the day of the seed swap, the program, how we do the swapping, the evaluation, and then takeaways. So prior to the swap, and this is something that may vary a little bit according to where you live in the country or just from how you want to do things. I have a really good local foods volunteer that's very passionate about growing local foods and strengthening the community in that way. And so we always kind of sit down and kind of try to come up with a date that works so that it's early enough that people can get seeds, but not so not still so in the middle of winter that we're going to have to figure out if it snows a lot, what we're going to have to do, if that makes sense. I think there's maybe been 1 in 15 years where I've had to postpone because of an ice event. But this year we had ours on Thursday, and that was February 27th, so that worked out really well. We did have it in the morning from 10 a.m. to noon. I've had it a little earlier. I've had it at night. I always have it during the week. That during one thing I might do in the future, I thought about is even trying on the weekend. That's one thing I have not tried. But the date, that is one thing that's flexible. Also, like you see there, I host mine in like winter because I feel like that is when people are starting to think about gardening and kind of getting active again. Another idea would be to have it in the fall and maybe combine it with a plant swap as well. But another important thing to think about is how to advertise. And so, of course, I've put out my newsletter. I alert all the local garden clubs and organizations in the county, and then I try to promote it on Facebook as much as possible. But within the seed swap advertising, I think it's important to tell people what are seeds that we can swap. And so usually I also will include information with the flyer. This is kind of an in-depth flyer, but I have a shorter version of the flyer and then a longer one that talks about, you can see here, it says acceptable seeds are those saved from open pollinated varieties of plants or any unused seed from packets. And if they have any questions, they're welcome to contact me and we can talk about it. Just because I think when people think of seed swap, they think they have to automatically have things to bring. And so that's one thing that I've actually tried to, in a way, work around because I think we put so much, I think this is a really great program because we talk about seed saving and diseases in the garden and gardening in general, that I don't want to restrict it to just the people who have to already saved seeds, whether they've done that correct or incorrectly, but people that want to garden in general and learn more. So we have started, and we really, I think from about the beginning, started trying to have seeds either donated or I buy seeds, but mostly we reach out to primarily, well, we end up primarily being organic. Territorial Seed Company and High Mowing are two that we reached out to that have donated seeds. Not always organic. That's not something people we worry about so much, the seed swap, but we require open pollinated, so that would be heirloom varieties. We also reach out to the local Ace Hardwares and Walmart here in town. They've been very generous over the years. But a lot of times, if you do want to reach out to the local places, they have not been able to donate as much the last few years. I'm not sure why. I think it's at a corporate level. Some things have changed, but I would start reaching out to them months in advance if you do want to, for a few reasons, partly because it is corporate, but also you're probably not the only group that's going to be asking them for donations. And so kind of get on their radar. This year we had Ace Hardware. My volunteer actually reached out to them in the fall, and then they said they couldn't donate any, but when she was in the store later in January, they're like, oh no, we found out we could. So it's always good to kind of check as much as you can. They do ask, that we submit an official letter asking what we want, and then I always follow up with a thank you note afterwards. And I try to send pictures too. But I've also decided, one other thing I do the past few years is I do purchase seeds, and I purchase them from Bentley Seed Company. And the reason I get them there, our 4-H agent here received a grant several years ago to open a seed library here. So we do have an active seed library, meaning people can come in and get seeds. I think it's up to 10 packs a person. Starting usually about in February. And because we have a good relationship with that company, they have given us a discount. And so I was able to purchase some for this last year. I guess especially every year, and especially in the beginning, I always have a nervousness that, oh my goodness, we aren't going to have seeds. People are going to come. We're not going to have enough. So even we've gotten to where even if we did not have these donations, we would have enough. It's just me being nervous that it's going to work out okay. But I mentioned too, for the money savings, a lot of people walk away with enough seeds. And again, even if I didn't purchase any, enough seeds to start their garden. And I think really the feedback just in that, and how much that's helped people, especially people that may not have the money to start their own garden this year. So I think that is actually a money savings thing that people have taken in. I don't want to take advantage of in a bad way, but I'm glad that they have come to us in that way. So other things prior to the swap is I go ahead and I put together handouts for them, because it is not just about seed swapping, but gardening in general. I do put out the Vegetable Garden Guide that we have in Kentucky, which is a great resource. Also, the Southern Exposure Seed Exchange Guide, and that's just something my volunteer and I found years ago. I just actually keep copies of it now. Seed germination testing publication from UC Davis, and that talks about how to test to see if seeds are still viable. Collecting and storing seeds from your garden, which is from Oregon State. And then I actually made a little publication called How to Properly Store Seeds at Home. And so I try to keep those, and then also a copy of my presentation. And sometimes those handouts vary, but those are the standard ones that I do keep. If you are interested in any of those publications, some of those you could Google yourself, or just reach out to me and I can help you with that. I believe on the last slide I have my contact information. The other thing, one of the things that we do prior to the swap, this year, some years I've done some demonstrations and displays on how to start seeds. This year we did show a demonstration on how to test for seed viability using the ragdoll method. And if you're not familiar with that, basically you just get 2 wet paper towels. On one you put seeds along it, and then you put the other paper towel on top, roll it up, put it in a bag, and wait to see how germination occurs. And so you can see these were new packets of seeds too, but you can see that both of these had pretty much 100% germination rate. So the day of the swap, we also go ahead and arrange our tables. And so in general, the seed tables, the tables where we'll be putting the seed during the swap, we usually have 12 or 13. And so I usually keep my labels for the swap. And when I went through it, I had a lot of them saved from year to year. So I try to kind of organize them. So these are some of the groups that we have broken them down, some other categories. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can see some of those are pretty specific. Some of them are not. Some years, I've ended up with 4 tables of flowers and herbs and like no corn. Or one year we just had an abundance of okra. I'm not sure why. So it's a constant kind of shifting. So if you do, I usually have my volunteer and then I have an assistant. And so I've also had master gardeners come in to kind of help us to kind of move. It has to be fluid as people bring things in. But so 12 or 13 tables to start with. And then two, we have, let me go back. We also have to have enough tables for people to sit because we do have a presentation too. So um, one of the things that we do on the table, so we put the table out where they're going to be seeds. Also place on the table a bowl where we put scoops or spoons, labels so people and pins, but people can write down what varieties of seeds are if they need to open a packet. And then these little bags which you can get at craft stores. I would recommend, I accidentally bought small bags that the labels really didn't fit well into. I would make sure and get, I think it was 3x4s. They work a lot better than the smaller ones. But and then but we do have scoops. A lot of times we end up with full packets of seeds because we are having donated or people bringing in things that they have not used in the past. So we don't always have seeds that we open, but when we do, we usually try to be very careful and encourage people to not spread seeds around. So I also offer a short educational program that might last 15 to 20 minutes. And it varies every year, either about how to save seeds, storing seeds, basic gardening, heirloom seeds, and then I always have a little bit of something in there about the disease control in the garden because disease control is so important with the seed saving as well. Because some diseases can be carried over on the seeds. And so that's always something that we do. But you can see, I didn't say this earlier, I kind of forgot, but the last few years that I've offered the seed swap program, we've had probably about 45 to 55 people at each program. And some people come and go, some may come in a little late, and some may leave a little early. But it's a pretty good turnout. And then at the end of every presentation, I always add this slide, the seed swap rules. And so people bring in their seeds before it starts. They sit down, we do the presentation. And then I tell them once we do the presentation, we'll go around the room and you can get what you need. But don't make sure and take only the seeds for your own use, or if you have neighbors, just I guess just don't take more than you need unless you have a good purpose. And so I always tell people, listen, if you have neighbors that need them or you're helping somebody else, please take what you need. So we have spoons for scooping and little bags and tell them how kind of the layout of the room. Be careful to not mix seeds. If you do open seed packets, do so carefully. Very important, we do not guarantee the seed viability or purity. And then I always thank whoever has donated the seeds that year. So now it's swap time, and you can see we have found that kind of spraying the tables out has helped a lot because as people kind of go around to look at everything, they can look at that. Trying to think, some people have really a few people have really bringing tons of seeds. So this is something they're really passionate about. But some people, this is their time to come in and get seeds, and they really enjoy it. So it really just varies. And I think one big thing is people getting to talk to other people about gardening in general and what works for them and what doesn't. And I've always been surprised too at some of the things people have grown here in Madison County. But you can see to the right or at the herb table, I think we had a lot of seeds that were donated. You can see. And then the couple on the left, they brought a tremendous amount of seeds, and they just are gardeners here in the county. So, like I said, I have done the evaluations, or try to, every year. But after the program, so I try to, some years I try to evaluate right after the program, so the end of the program that day, and then again at the end of the gardening season. And 86% of the participants at the end of the program planned on saving seeds, and 90% said they would use gardening publications. And then at the end of the gardening season, when I evaluated them, 55% saved seeds from their garden, and 100% grew something new or different in their garden. I thought that was kind of exciting, because I think it's so easy to get in a rut and then not. It's hard. It's like taking a hello bite when you're little. It's hard to try something new. And then 67% saw improvement in their garden because of something they learned at the seed swap. And so, whether that's disease control or maybe they learned something from another person. And so I think that was really important. And so the takeaway that I've kind of, if people start talking to me about seed swaps, is by not relying solely on the seeds being brought to the program, but having some from donations or by buying them, I feel like this opens the program to a larger portion of the population, to kind of learn more about gardening in general. Also, this is also my first gardening program every year because we do it very late winter. And so it kind of opens the stage to jumpstart the gardening for the rest of the season. I didn't show that on the handouts table, but I also usually have flyers for all the programs coming up. And then any seeds that we have that are left over from the swap, I either donate to a garden clubs locally, or they're added to our office's seed library. So again, my name is Amanda Sears. I'm the horticulture agent in Richmond, Kentucky, and Madison County, Central Kentucky.